So Greta Thunberg's desperation for the headlines must surely be eclipsed by the vicious bomb, the vicious explosion at the Ali Arab hospital. It doesn't matter really whether the Israelis, the IDF, say that they will look into it to and avoid claiming responsibility. It doesn't matter. This is a tragedy. This was a tragedy waiting to happen. The Reverend Richard Sowell, the Dean of the Anglican Cathedral, St George's Cathedral in Jerusalem, which funds the Al-Ahli hospital, said the bombs need to stop now. Of course they need to stop now. There can be no possible justification for this, he says. The World Health Organization condemns the strike and calls for the immediate protection of civilians and a guarantee of genuine health care, and for the evacuation plans to be reversed. The irony of all this is that the Al-Ahli hospital is independent of Hamas, is independent of the organization of Gaza, is independent of Israel, is funded by the Anglican Church. And in the last half an hour or so, while I've been teaching, it's come out that the IDF insist that the hospital blast was caused by militants' rockets. They say an analysis of IDF operational systems indicates that a barrage of rockets was fired by terrorists into Gaza, passing in close proximity to the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza at the time, and it was hit. Intelligence from multiple sources we have in our hands indicates that Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza. There's complete chaos in in Gaza as a result of this, and protests in the West Bank city of Ramallah. Of course there are, and Abbas's decision not to meet with Biden, which I think is a mistake. And Israel, simply says, well, a hospital is not an IDF target. But the problem is, once you start a war, and Israel claims this is a war, once you start a siege and you cut off water and you group together a lot of desperate people, there are going to be accidents of this kind. Well, yes, maybe you can claim this is not like the Moscow bombing of the theatre in Ukraine. This is not like the bombing of hospitals in Ukraine where the Kremlin is deliberately targeting hospitals, community buildings, and so on. Maybe not. But accidents will happen if you're playing around with bombs, if you're playing around with rockets. It doesn't matter whether this was caused by the Hamas or by the IDF. This would not have happened had Israel not threatened a siege of Gaza. Now, the latest news is that Rishi Sunak is planning to go to Israel to demonstrate his support for Israel and to appeal for aid for Gaza. I think he's got it wrong. I think he's quite right. We should support Israel in its self-defense, but we need to make it absolutely and abundantly clear as an international community that this siege is wrong. And whether the hospital is a result of a bomb, a missile strike by the IDF, whether it's a result of a missile strike by Hamas gone wrong, whether it doesn't really matter what it is. It is a result of the siege. And it's impossible to see it in any other terms. It's a result of the siege. And it must be utterly condemned. Before embarking on a just war, you make sure your cause is just, you make sure other solutions have been exhausted. Other solutions haven't even been attempted.